Welcome to FX Street, Currency in Play. My name is Nick Moose Batsford and I am Core Finance London. I'm joined by Matt Brown, a presenter. Morning to you, young Matt.
Morning.
Right, we've got some slides set up. Let's kick off without further ado. The top trends, the dollar index extends the recovery, focus on retail sales. The euro US dollar weaker, initial support comes in at 117.30. The 21-day moving average. In terms of cable, in a tight range, bid around 129.50. And finally, dollar yen well above the 110 as safe haven demand eases. Let's just run through these quickly, Matt. In terms of the dollar index, extends the recovery. We've seen a number of commentators suggest that we may try and find an area of support around here. Not really convinced, are you?
No. It has shown some recovery, let's be honest, but it did sell off quite aggressively over recent weeks. But it's not full support, and it's not there, and a lot of it is dictated by the euro at the moment. We're seeing a little bit of weakness, and that brings us on to the next euro dollar weaker. Initial support coming at the 117.30 level. It had a strong run up. It could start to retrench back. But I mean, for me, what I'm looking out for is the retail sales due at 130 today out of the US. Now, expectations that they could be around 0.4. Barclays have come out and said actually might be lower at 0.2 for the last month. So look out for that. I think, bar the Fed minutes tomorrow, this is the key event, certainly for dollar traders out there. So keep an eye on that at 1:30 today. Cable, actually, same bid around 129.50. We've seen it drop lower now, around the 129.20-30 level, a bid there. Reason being a weaker CPI, RPI, and PPI data as a whole. So we're seeing the sterling again moving out of favour and testing some lower resistance levels.
Support levels.
And support levels as well. So look out for that. And dollar yen to finish off. This is a North Korea trade here. It feels like risk on. We're seeing flows back into the dollar, and that's pushing the bid up to 110. But that seems to be the sticking point, really a level that everyone was trading around over the recent weeks. Where it goes from here is a tricky one. It is range bound, and it's more of an option trade at the moment on dollar yen rather than go long or short naked.
Okay, well, let's go through some daily charts. Again, in terms of dollar yen there, clearly a very, very messy chart.
Indeed, we talked about the range bound then, and hitting was the 109.25 level. We had seen it lower in previous sessions, but again, it's breaking out. But to me, as a chart, that feels like it's quite a tight range. I mean, we're looking at kind of 108.50 up potentially to 114. It's a tight range, as I say. That's probably more of an option play without any breakout. There's nothing there for me to indicate anything. Would I go long dollar yen at the moment? Not being a fan of the dollar, I'm not keen on that.
I've got to say, right, there's an old adage, okay, if you're unclear, do nothing.
Yep.
And that chart, okay,
exactly.
Sideways trading, big ranges, succession of sort of lower highs and basically higher lows, going into a triangle, uncertainty.
It's black or red kind of casino trading, not trend direct trading.
Technicals aren't really giving you too many clues there.
Agree.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next slide. The Great British Pound against the US dollar. Again, we saw there were suggestions on the show that 132 breakout, we're going up to 140 by year end. Needless to say, it's pulled back. This actually looks quite weak in terms of the break of the support line from the June lows. And again, that's obviously a first sign that the trend may be changing. And I think we've seen a number of commentators come on from a technical perspective and suggest that this is going lower. And I think I would actually back the technicians, not the fundamentalists.
Agreed. I mean, there's a lot of play there with fundamentally the data coming out isn't surprising. The pound has a good run up. So you look at the fundamental point of view, and as you rightly say, on a technical point of view, certainly in the short term, the trend does feel lower.
Right. Let's move on to euro US dollar. Fantastic uptrend. I think Ryan Littlestone, when we were on a business trip, was suggesting this was just going to go onward and upwards. The trend is your friend. Don't buck the trend. And absolutely spot on. You know, in terms of the gap was never filled. Succession of higher highs, higher lows. again, you would expect a healthy trend always has pullbacks, okay? And, you know, the theory is buy the dips, and that's just a classic textbook chart. So I would think, you know, round numbers, respect the sort of 117, 116, I'd be a buyer for choice. I don't see any sell signal there at all at this point in time.
Yeah, trend is your friend on this one.
Okay, so let's move on then to the dollar index. And again, this for me is quite interesting. I'm always looking for a higher low because the beauty of this is you know where your stop loss is. So we got a higher low in there. I think basically a close above 94 there or thereabouts. I would think about basically trying to find the bottom. Famous last words, of course. Very strong downtrend, hitting the 14 months. I think a higher low, I'd be tempted to go long there.
Yeah, but again, with the euro dollar, I mean, the euro is making up about 50% of the dollar index, so you've got to bear in mind which one you're going to trade or maybe hedge it and look for some of the commodity currencies, Canadian dollar, New Zealand, Kiwi, Australia. If you've got this trade on, how are you going to hedge that as well? Because you have to look, and we saw previously the euro chart, that's a strong factor in the dollar index. So you've got to be quite smart. If you look at sometimes just these individually, you might miss the picture of what's underlying that. But we could see a rally.
That's a higher low there. That's all I'm saying. Final thoughts? It's August.
It's August. Markets are quiet. Volumes are thin, and that's obvious. I think the whole Trump North Korea trade has dissipated for now. So obviously we're seeing some of the safe haven trades that were put on the back end of last week now slowly unwinding. Look at gold, look at Bitcoin. We've mentioned before on the show these currency plays as well. But for me, as I say, the focus, 130 today, retail sales, are they going to be weaker than expected coming out of the US? And let's look at the Fed minutes coming up tomorrow.
Well, my final thought is there's quite a well-respected bank out there suggesting the gold can go to $1,400 by year end. That's my thought of the day. Thank you.